All right, welcome back here. This is chapter 4.1. We're going to continue to learn more about triangles today. Target number 1 is, I can recall that triangles have 3 sides, and the sum of a triangle's interior angles equals 180 degrees. You're going to be able to classify triangles by sides or by angles, and you're going to be able to solve for missing angles of a triangle. A triangle is formed by 3 segments joining 3 non-collinear points. Using what you learned yesterday, tick mark what you know about the following triangles. I'll give you a couple seconds to do that now. Remember, when tick marking triangles, we're tick marking any congruent sides or congruent angles. So let's take a look and see how we did. An equilateral triangle has 3 sides that are congruent and 3 angles that are congruent. So tick mark a equilateral triangle should look like this. Next, we move over to isosceles. As you see below, it says 2 sides are congruent. They're called legs. And also 2 base angles are congruent. Isosceles triangle should look like this when tick marked. Remember, it sort of looks like the Angry Birds, the yellow bird, or maybe even the Sorting Hat from Harry Potter. A little bit of more information on an isosceles triangle. The 2 congruent sides of an isosceles triangle are called legs. Okay, this is something new we didn't talk about yesterday. We know when we tick mark the legs, those tick marks usually point to the base angles. Or if you're not sure where the base angles are, you take a leg and you look for the angle opposite the leg. Next we have scalene, so there's no sides that are congruent. There's no angles that are congruent. If you decided not to tick mark this, I understand that, but if you did, you would tick mark each side with a different amount of slashes. Now we're going to classify triangles by angles. As you see, we have 4 different types here. We have our acute triangle, our equilateral triangle, our right triangle, and our obtuse triangle. Starting with the acute triangle, all 3 angles are less than 90 degrees. So as you see up here, here's our 3 angles. Not one of them is greater than 90 degrees. Next, we have an equilateral triangle. Okay, or an equal angular triangle. This is just like an equilateral triangle. So all 3 angles are congruent and all 3 sides are congruent. Hence we have the angles marked. Okay, and we could have also marked the sides on this one. Next we have a right triangle. Okay, right triangle has one 90-degree angle. These other 2 angles here are going to sum up to 90 degrees. So when we add these 2, we get 90. This one and this one. And then we add the other 90 to complete our 180-degree triangle. Our last one here is an obtuse triangle. It has one angle that's greater than 90 degrees. Okay, as for example, this one is our obtuse angle. It's 133 degrees. And our other 2 angles are going to finish out where if we sum all 3 of them together, they're going to equal 180 degrees. When classifying triangles by angles and sides, what we have to do is be very specific. Okay? What you're going to do is name the triangle by the angle and then by the side or given information. For example, try this one on your own. Notice certain things about this triangle. Hopefully you realize it was a right isosceles triangle. It was a right triangle because it has the right angle box here. And here's the trickier part. It's an isosceles triangle because these 2 angle measures are congruent, meaning the sides across from them are congruent. So it has a right angle and 2 congruent sides. And 2 congruent sides make it an isosceles triangle. Alright, parts of a triangle. You have your regular acute triangle. All 3 of these parts are called sides. In a right triangle, these 2 parts are called legs. Across from the right angle is the longest side, which is called the hypotenuse. So think of this as the right angle box is pointing to your hypotenuse. Next we have an isosceles triangle. I mentioned earlier that the two congruent sides are called legs. The other side is called a base. The two angles that meet at the base and a leg are called base angles. This is something we discussed yesterday. We're going to talk the triangle sum theory. The sum of the measure of the interior angles of a triangle equal how many degrees? Go ahead and fill yours in now. Correct answer is 180 degrees because all triangles' interior angles equal 180 degrees. The sum of the measures of the interior angles of a triangle equal 180 degrees. The way to express this mathematically is to say the measure of angle, let's jump back there. The measure of angle ABC, so we're talking about this angle right here. The measure of angle BAC, so we're talking about this angle, or the measure of angle ACB, which is this angle right here, are going to equal 180 degrees. Another way we can say it, because we're only dealing with one triangle, is the measure of angle A plus the measure of angle B plus the measure of angle C equals 180 degrees. All right, your practice complete. The rest of this, the questions that we have in our note packet, and then your homework tonight, or your practice, is going to be to complete worksheet 1.4b. Hence, if there are more than one triangle in the diagram, use previous information. Vertical angles and linear pair can be your friends.